Well guys, I picked up a battery, Duracell 76A, which is a direct cross for the LR44, which is what this calls for, I believe. So I had tested these two LR44s. 2 of the 3 batteries were good. This one, the third one, was corroded and bad, so you don't want to buy 3 new batteries for it in case the thing's not worth keeping. One of my regular contributors, commenters on my channels, pointed out to me that that this is not a very practical tool for a manual mill, and it's more handy for doing CNC setup, I guess. So keeping that in mind, I may very well end up just selling this. Alright. Oh, I didn't clean that corrosion off of this bulb. Hopefully I can save this bulb. Alright, so that bulb cleaned up pretty well. Alright, so if I recall correctly, I think the bulb just goes in first. The batteries stack. Just going to double check that. Diagram shows that that's how it goes in, but it doesn't really clearly show which way the batteries face. But I'm pretty sure that's how it was. That the side of the positive side of the battery that has the writing on it was facing out. Seeing as how it's an incandescent bulb, I'm wondering whether or not the polarity would even matter, as long as all of the batteries go in the same direction to form the series circuit. All right. Now for testing purposes, rather than bothering to go all the way over to the mill and test it, I should be able to just use a wire to simulate. And that does not work. It's funny, the instructions say the LED lamp will illuminate. Alright, first things first, because that bulb is so tiny, I am going to resort to a continuity tester to test the okay, that is a good filament. Double check my batteries.
1.568, 1.536 is the low, and 1.576 is the highest one.
Yeah, that should work. There's got to be something else going on here. Come on, you stinker. That's working. All right. I wonder if that has to actually push down on that. Shouldn't, right? Oh, what the heck, let's try with the batteries facing the other way. I can get them even going that way. I don't like to. They have a habit of wanting to fall in facing the other way, leading me to think all the more that that's the way they're supposed to go in. I mean, when this goes in there, this outer lip of the bulb here is definitely going to be making contact with the main body here, and then negative post of the battery is going to be touching the back of the bulb, and then the next cell after that goes in, and then this goes in. That's actually all spring loaded. Okay, there's a plastic thing in the end here. I wonder if I've got that spring in the wrong position. Oh, here's a better picture right here. Hey, this shows 4 batteries. Could have sworn I only took 3 batteries out of this thing. Oh, wait a minute. That's the edge finder. Is that there? Yeah, it looks like maybe the edge finder uses less batteries. Well, the spring's definitely going to go behind the batteries. Alright, let's see. if I put that down. Alright, so what I just did is I dropped the bulb down in there into position. And so if I reach down into there with the probe and the meter. Alright, so if I reach down in there with the probe and the meter, standing this up like this, I should get continuity between, if I touch that center little contact on the bulb and the body of this, I should get continuity. Oops. And I don't. In fact, I don't get continuity. Huh. How does that work? Alright. Okay, I just decided to put the spring in first because it turns out that that way down in there, that area is not common to the case like I thought it was. So I'm thinking now the spring is what makes the connection. Still not working. Tell you what, that sounds like maybe there is supposed to be a fourth battery in here. Alright. So, just wasn't making sense to me. The spring can't go in first, because if the spring goes in first, nothing will end up coming in contact with the center little tip there on that bulb. So it's got to be batteries. And that outer area there that the bulb comes in contact with when it's seated in there is common to just the tip here. Okay? So what I did do is I did kind of clean the inside of this cap. And then I also cleaned down that area where the bulb goes in a little better. Alright, so the current's going to flow from the tip through the outside of the bulb's case, through the filament, to that tip, through the batteries, and then to the case, and then through the wire back to the tip to make the circuit complete. So technically if I do this, if I reach in and touch the back of those batteries, it should light. Oh, it's now become apparent to me that there is supposed to be another battery in here. I was just assuming that there was 3 batteries because that's what was in here when I took it out. Pretty sure. But what ended up happening was, it didn't make any sense to me that this still wasn't working. So I tried it again and then came to realize that what in fact was happening is that right now it's actually lighting when I touch this. But it's so dim that it doesn't show through these little red lenses. So that's what I've got to get another battery. Well, guys, it's the end of May. This 2 more days is going to be Memorial Day weekend, and I never did get around to finishing up this little electronic height finder. That's the edge finder on that side, the electronic preset gauge as it's called. So today I finally bought some batteries because I got tired of those videos that I had shot, oh I don't know, what was it, a month ago, sitting on the computer, and I hadn't edited them into for upload. So I said, well, if I get the darn batteries, get this thing working and show it, then I can just tie off that video and be done with it. So without further ado, let's see if we can't get this thing to work. Oh, by the way, I think I had the way I had left off was I had realized that I needed 2 more batteries, and of course I had already bought one, so I could buy 2 separate ones, but they're actually cheaper to buy as a 3-pack. But $11 for these 3 batteries. So if you take into account the, I don't know, $5 or $6 I paid for the single battery already, I'm going to be into this thing for almost $20 worth of batteries. And I still haven't even seen it work yet. Well, not really well. Alright, I think I'm losing my mind. I just put this together with the new batteries and it still won't work. So I went back just for the heck of it and I checked the continuity on this bulb. Could have sworn that this bulb was good. Last time I worked on this, I don't even remember. But now, it's really weird because it's not measuring wide open. It's measuring about 1,000,000 ohms. I mean, way too much, obviously, but I've never seen I mean, when a filament opens, a filament opens. You know what I'm saying? It's a regular filament bulb. So why the hell is this thing measuring? It's acting like a capacitor. See, the resistance as it starts out a little higher and it drops. That is weird. That's got to be a bad bulb. Well, so much for wrapping this up tonight. This bulb number is a 3150. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to find a lamp 338 on here. Alright, before I wrap it up for a night, I got to show you this because I want some electrical engineer genius type to explain to me what's going on here. This is a regular incandescent bulb. I looked at it under magnification and I could see the filament. It looks like there might be a tiny break in the filament on the end there. I'm not sure though. It's very hard to see. If I hold the negative lead of my meter on the case and the positive lead of the meter on this little button right here, that's what my meter does. It's auto ranging like crazy. It's flashing between k ohms and mega ohms. And if I hold it on there and wait, you see the pulsing slows down. It's like it's oscillating from between around 7.750 or around more than that mega ohms to, well, I don't know what the heck that was. Well, now it's stabilizing. 0.286, 288, 289, 290 mega ohms. Alright? But if I reverse the polarity, watch what happens. If I reverse the polarity, it doesn't do the weird oscillating thing. It just kind of steadily starts at around 2.7 million ohms and climbs, sort of like a capacitor as it charges. So I think my theory is that there's a very tiny break in the filament, enough of a break in the filament that's why I'm not getting a very low resistance reading like I expected. But that the break in the filament is so close, that the two ends of the filament are so close to each other that this thing has actually started to act like a completely different component, like a capacitor. I mean, that's kind of a stretch, but that's the only thing I can figure. But I don't know. It's curious to me, so I just thought I'd mention it. Maybe I'm the only one who finds that interesting. It could be. All right. Hopefully, I'll be able to track down one of these bulbs. All right. So trying to solve the mystery here of the bulb that goes in this thing, and it's kind of interesting. I found some stuff on the internet, so I wanted to go back and just refer to this for a moment. It's not clear in this picture how many batteries are shown in this diagram right here. It almost looks like there are 4 cells stacked up. They didn't do a very good job with this photograph right here. So on the back side, where they have the diagram, because they use the back side of this paper for the edge finder. The edge finder clearly, according to this, has 4 cells. And that's kind of interesting because we know that the cells are 1.5 volt cells. So if we take the 4 times 1.5, we end up with 6 volts. So keep that in mind as I continue this discussion. So we got 6 volts there. I tried putting 4 cells in, and when I tightened down the button on the back there, the little battery retainer, it actually ended up putting a dent in. Let's see if I can show you. Right here, I actually ended up denting in the cell that was in contact with the little protrusion on the back of the bulb. So that certainly didn't seem right. So it looks like physically all that's going to fit in there correctly are 3 cells. So even though they show 4 for this, I guess the this was probably longer. In fact, does it even give? Yeah, this gives the overall dimension of the thing as 3.66 inches. And then this is only, well, 2 inches, but it's kind of deceptive because that's 2 inches there. This measurement takes into account this long nose on the front here, so that really doesn't tell us anything. But going back to this, that almost looks like they meant to show 4 cells there, but I think it really only uses 3. And unfortunately, down here it tells you what type of battery, the A76 battery, which is what I'm using, but it doesn't tell you how many. Then it tells you the part number for the lamp. It says lamp number 338. So remember that number. And then TT3510. All right. Well, that number comes up in my research also, but it's kind of a weird thing. So they're calling it a TT3510, but the actual bulb itself actually has a number on it of 3150. All right. So this bulb has a number of 3150. So if you take the 2 middle digits and you flip them, you end up with the number that's on the bulb here, 3150. Okay, so that would make you think that this bulb and that bulb and a 338 should all be the same or interchangeable. But that's not what I found. All right, so let's start with the 338 number that we saw right next to the word bulb here in the little paperwork that came with the darn thing. So, yeah, at first look, 338 bulb, it looks like the right bulb. 338 miniature bulb midget flange base. The problem is when you actually look at the specs for the bulb, that's where you run into a problem. The voltage rating for that bulb is about 2.7 volts. So we get a problem. If you had only two batteries in there, 2 1.5 volt batteries in series is going to give us 3 volts. So that would run the light. If we put 3 batteries in there, which is what I believe this was supposed to have in it, 3 batteries. Okay, when we put the 3 batteries in there, we're going to be putting in 4.5 volts into a 2.7 volt lamp. That's a problem. So we can't do that. All right, we're just asking for trouble. So that makes you think, well, all right, wait a minute. What's wrong with this picture? Why don't we look at the what is it? I said we're going to move those 2 digits. So that's a 3150. Let's look at a 3150. All right, so let's put in 3150 bulb. And again, here's a bulb. Looks just like that last bulb, midget flanged bulb. But you'll notice that this one, this right here, it's coming up. It's a 5 volt bulb. Let's see if we can't get more. Yeah, right here. Go to Mouser. We can see that bulb right there has the same physical appearance. It's a T1 3/4 lamp size, but it's a 5 volt. Okay, so if we take our 3 cells, we'll have 4.5 volts going into a 5 volt lamp. Not going to be maximum brightness out of the lamp, but that will not burn it out. We could put 4.5 volts into this lamp without damaging it. Now let's try the TT3510. Alright, so if we take the TT3510, we get too many hits. Let's add bulb. Alright. Now, here's a funny thing. I put in TT3510 bulb, and what comes back as a hit? Lo and behold, the number 338 again. The 2.7 volt. It's making me think that this is supposed to have only 2 cells in it to run a 2.7 volt bulb. Alright? Well, here's the other problem though. Remember I showed you on here that shows you this TT3510 338 lamp is the lamp for the offset? Well, guess what? On the back side, it has the same part number for the lamp. The 338 and the TT3510. Only we know from the photograph that it clearly shows that the offset, not the offset, the edge finder, I said offset, I meant the edge finder, has 4 cells. As a matter of fact, yeah, it doesn't tell you how many it uses, but you can clearly see 4 batteries in this, in the edge finder. So 4 batteries, okay, is going to give you 6 volts, and the bulb that they're calling for here is a 2.7 volt bulb. Really? You can put 6 volts into a 2.7 volt bulb? How's that going to work out for you? Not too well. That's where it gets kind of weird. Okay, so now here in the Enco catalog, here's an offset gauge that looks identical to mine, and I found this by Googling the TT3510, oddly enough. And I don't know why it came up with that hit, but it's actually not showing it here. But it says right here it uses A76 batteries supplied. By the way, I think the MSC catalog, I found one of these, and it said uses A76 batteries supplied, and it said 3. So I think that's how I was able to confirm that it is supposed to be 3 batteries in there. Easily replaceable lamp. Here's the part number for the lamp. And it's not going to show us a picture. But this is interesting. It says replacement bulb for use with edge finder TT3150. So that makes me think they're using TT3150 as the part number for the edge finder itself. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's the bulb. All right, but they're not going to tell us what the voltage is or any other numbers. They're going to keep that secret. So I've actually found this this particular offset gauge, or offset gauges that look identical to this one, and I've seen them badged as SPI. I've seen them badged as well, I think the Enco one, and then there's like an MSC. Now this is another little interesting tidbit here. If we search the MSC catalog or website, okay, you'll notice that down here there's one made in the USA, MSC part number. Okay, this has a 1-inch shank, single end. It's highly rated. But then if we come up here, you'll find this is an SPI model, 1-inch shank. And then at the very top here, here's the made in the USA. Oh, that might be the one at the bottom there. Let's see, 9446. Yeah, that's that one, okay. So there's basically 2. And then this is interesting. Here is what they're calling the replacement bulb for the SPI unit. Well, that looks like an LED. Looks like a little tiny PC board with an LED. So I'm wondering whether or not this can be used in place of the bulb. They're calling these things, by the way, electronic, but I noticed that even in these reviews, which this thing is highly reviewed, very positively reviewed by the people who have bought it. But the interesting thing is, even somebody who gave it 5 stars said that, it's got a problem. Here we go, right here. Look at this. This guy bought it. He gave it 5 stars. He says, the only problem I had with this product is that it is not described correctly in the Hot Deal sales catalog. The catalog states that this has 4
highly visible LED lights, when in fact it has one incandescent bulb that shines through 4 red plastic ports. That is what I have. And this is the Made in USA one. So maybe the SPI one is LED. So this Made in USA MSC one, this one doesn't appear to be in the big book. Click on the SPI one. There's a link down here so it shows where you can go in the big book and you can pull it up. And there it is right there. And again, here it is, a replacement bulb. Now again, it's interesting. They're calling it a bulb. They're not calling it an LED. But again, when you pull it up, you get this thing. It sure as heck looks like an LED to me. I can even see like the anode or the cathode inside there. But the base makes it look like it's almost made to drop in maybe as a replacement for the bulb. Alright, so I went down my local electrical supply house. And this electrical supply house is not your typical electrical supply house. They have everything that the regular electrician working day by day would need, but they also have a lot of industrial supply stuff. They even have a whole business running, selling surplus online. And they buy out old inventory, and they had a lot of new old stock bulbs there, and they had a lot of these little indicator lamps. So just for the heck of it, I went down there and spoke to the woman I know down there who is very knowledgeable and has been there for years. And, showed her the bulb, and she immediately went to digging in the dusty boxes there and pulled out a bulb that was identical physically in size, but unfortunately it was a 28 volt lamp. So you can imagine a tiny lamp like that, but it was 28 volt rating. I actually looked it up online just for the heck of it because I was curious about the application, and it said aircraft. So it was probably a backlight bulb for an indicator lamp or something like that on an old aircraft back in the day. I showed her my bulb that I had found on eBay. Somebody was selling GE new old stock, but they were selling them 10 lots of 10. And actually they were only asking $9 plus a couple bucks shipping, so it's actually very reasonable for them if you need them. But I didn't want to wait for 10 if I could get one locally. So she dug a little further, and she found this 7332. It actually has a CN-7332, but the CN number, the CN letters don't mean anything. So if you put in a 7332, lo and behold, what comes up is a bulb that physically is the same size as the bulb that I'm looking for, 0.03 watts, 5 volts. So I think we're back in business with the 3 cells giving me the 4.5 volts to run a 5 volt lamp. So this 7332 that I got from them should be a direct replacement for what I took out of there. Now, whether or not what I took out of there is the correct bulb in the first place, well, I don't know. According to the paperwork that came with the darn thing, probably not. But then again, the paperwork has a discrepancy because it's using the same bulb for the offset and the edge finder, even though they're showing the edge finder uses 4 batteries. So it just gets weirder and weirder. But let's go throw this little bulb that I picked up today into this pig and see if we can't get this thing to light. Alright guys, finally got this cream puff, what do they call this thing, an offset, working. Ended up being 3 batteries that I ended up putting in there. Even though the verdict's still out on whether or not it should be 2 batteries and a different bulb, or the 3 batteries I have in there with the current bulb, which is a cross for what was in there when I got the thing. Just, I don't think I'm ever going to solve that mystery. I also still wonder about the possibility of whether or not that bulb can be changed out completely for an LED. But I'm not going to bother finding out because I think I'm probably going to end up selling this little doohickey. It's an expensive little thing to buy new out of the MSC catalog, even if you buy the SPI version or the MSC version, either one of those, which look identical, so are probably made by the same manufacturer. Although the SPI one, I'd be surprised if that's made in the USA, whereas the MSC one, they're touting the fact that it's made here in the USA.
It's funny, there are absolutely no markings on this thing to identify it in any other way. But anyways, if you Google electronic offset, that's how you can find this thing. So basically, I mean, I've got a countersink in there right now, but if I had a milling cutter in there, I would be able to, let me engage the main feed. There we go. So I could do this real slow. And basically, you come down slowly. I just repositioned the camera so I could focus on that thing. Tripod's a little crooked, so that's probably going to look like the thing's sideways, tilted, but it's not. Oop, wrong direction. Guess I should rotate this so I could see it better. There you go, lights on. Okay, so now that light's on. So now, do it again. Right where that light's just coming on, now I slide this out. Right now, that point of that countersink is supposedly 2 inches above this surface right here, plus or minus something like 0.0002. The other feature about this thing is that this button is spring loaded. So the idea is that if you're using this to set, I think, a CNC machine, if it comes down too far or crashes or whatever, it's going to have a little bit of give to it so it doesn't destroy things. Very little give, but so I think that's going to wrap up the electronic offset. This is probably already going to be more than one video to do this thing. Quite frankly, I think it's... Oh, see, I was right. Apparently the content was so boring it put my camera to sleep. Well, alright, so that's it. That's unless I end up actually using this in a project at some point, it's probably the last time it's going to appear in one of my videos.